Good evening. My name is Stephanie Sandoval. Today's presentation is going to be on cognitive development and the zone of proximal development. For my first slide, we're going to be focusing on cognitive development learning theory, and the founder of that one that we reference the most is Piaget. So he referenced cognitive development in a matter of stages, and those stages begin with birth to 2 years old, which is sensory motor. That's when a infant or young toddler knows that an object is still there. And when they know based on memory, based on predictability, they know that mom's there for a certain thing, or that's where the bottle is, or whatnot. Pre-operational, that's from the age of 2 years to 7 years old. So we're talking about toddler through early childhood, elementary school age. And that's when children are able to associate a word or object to something other than a self. So they're able to assign a word to something that represents, not necessarily that word, but they can, use association. As far as the next age group, that's 11 years old to adolescence, and concrete operational, which is 7 years old to 11 years old, and that is concrete operational. And at this point, children are able to have the ability to plan and think things out. They're being a little more methodological as they weren't before, and they can actually think through things a little bit more. In our last phase, formal operational, this is from the age of 11 years old to adolescence and early adulthood. And at this point, children are able to analyze things in multiple ways. They're able to actually use more critical thinking and plan out how they want things to end as a result. So they're able to kind of map out their actions. And some terms in this area we want to talk about are assimilation. So assimilation, the way I like to think of it, is a reaction to a new encounter based on a prior schema. So with schemas are, I referenced them as a memory of all responses or interactions. So it's kind of like a database we have in our head, in our brain. And that has kind of any interaction, any kind of things we felt or went through, and it's kind of like in our database. So I like to look at assimilation as a reaction to a new encounter based on a memory. So if we had maybe a bad situation happen or a bad, something traumatic, we have to find a new way to react to that now. Accommodation would be a change in the schema based on the encounter, based on a new encounter, I'm sorry. So if there was a different situation and this time it was good, obviously it's going to change the tone on that memory that we have in that database. Equilibrium. So that's kind of when everything is all making sense. When those schemas, those memories, and the reactions we're having to them, they just kind of, everything aligns. Everything's where it needs to be in the right place. So the next area we're going to talk about tonight is zone of proximal development. We remember more than likely, the father of proximal development is Vygotsky. He believed, in my way of interpreting it, is the difference in what a child can do alone and what they can do with the support from peers or adults. So when you can do something, and it might be a little more troubling, but if you can do something maybe without support, and then the difference when you can do it with support, obviously we're able to grasp things a lot easier. It's explained to us in a different way for us to kind of get the hang of whatever it is. That's kind of that area. So that in-between area, doing it alone and then doing it with support. So we're going to talk a little bit about scaffolding. So scaffolding is where, the way I like to think of it, is being able to break something down to make it easier to learn or to accomplish or attain. So when we're teaching, we think of it as breaking down a big lesson into smaller pieces for them to get a little bit at a time. The line of regression. So this is kind of what we were talking about in that little space. So a line of regression, I think about it is, so when you know something before you have any help, and then you have the help and you remove that help, obviously we regress a little bit. We kind of lose that little details of having somebody next to us or having somebody kind of guide us and explain it to us. So we were further along than we were before any help, but we're not quite where we were when we had somebody guiding us along. That would be that area of line of regression. Um, Cultural tools. So those are any kind of methods of assistance. It could be television, it could be um, technology, books. I mean, anything we use in order to help our learning, to help it, further progress. So I hope you got a little more information based on what I learned and that I got a better understanding on. And I appreciate your help. Thank you.